Hey now, it's the IT guy here. Today is going to be the first in the series of GIMP videos on the GNU Image Manipulation Program, or the GIMP. Today is going to be the introduction. First question we're going to ask today is the GIMP right for you? So the easiest way for me to break this down is if you do any of these things on the left-hand side of this page, if you work with raw files. If you don't know what raw files are, don't worry, you're cool. Don't worry about it at all. If you work with them, you'll know what they are. If you work with RAW all the time, the GIMP is not for you. There is a plugin that will handle it, but it renders to JPEG, and it's just clunky and terrible. So that is a non-starter. If you've been in the Adobe ecosystem for a while and you're used to non-destructive editing, not offered by the GIMP. If you don't know what non-destructive editing is, again, don't worry about it. If you live in that ecosystem, if you pull files from Lightbridge and export them to InDesign or Illustrator, well, obviously the GIMP does not work and play well with those programs, so this is not for you. In summary, if you do any paid work with images and you intend to use the GIMP for paid work, probably not a good idea. Break down and shell out the money for the Adobe Creative Suite. That all having been said, if the following features, which are so many I couldn't even put them in a bulleted list properly, are good enough for you, then great. So the GIMP out of the box offers the ability to work with layers, masks, transparencies, alpha channels, filters, plugins, Python and script foo support. You can export to just about any format, and conversely, you can open just about any format to edit, except for PSD. PSD sometimes loses information. Be aware of that. But if you're using PSD, you're a Photoshop guy. Live previews, really cool features like liquid rescaling, intelligent scissors, both of which that I will show you, and a huge community of enthusiasts who just keep producing filters and plugins and content and script for this thing. It's pretty impressive. Cost and learning curve. Okay, so Photoshop, if you want just the basics, just Photoshop, and I think Lightroom comes with for $10 a month. Learning curve is pretty damn steep. The GIMP, free and open source, costs nothing. The learning curve, also pretty steep. Now that I've given you a brief introduction to the GIMP and a compare and contrast between the GIMP and Photoshop, I want to tell you about the two things that the GIMP developers have done for some reason with their Windows release that makes people like to run this program once and never ever run it again. Two deal breakers and how to fix them. I'm going to show you how to download and install this program, and when you open it for the very first time, it is going to look like the image on the right-hand side of this screen. You are going to see multiple module windows open, one with a brush tool, one with the select tool, one with the image that you're editing, and they just are free and roam around your desktop. If you're a Linux guy, you'll recognize this and feel right at home with it. If you're used to the Windows GUI, you're going to feel much more at home with the image on the left-hand side, which is a single pane, with everything in the single pane. The good news is, with one simple click, you can turn that dog's breakfast on the right into the old, comfortable, and familiar thing on the left, and I'll show you how to do that. People get very frustrated with this right out of the box, and because that button click is not very clear to them, they figure that's just the way the program is, and it's just not for them. The other thing that I'm going to show you is a problem with load time. The GIMP by default will index all of your plugins and all of your fonts. Now, if you have a standard Windows 10 install and Microsoft Office, you have upwards of 300 fonts installed, whether you know it or not, and GIMP will take a very long time every time it starts up to index them. If your workflow is anything like mine, you don't use fonts all the time, and it's perfectly fine to start the program without them and just load them when you need them from inside the program. Easy peasy, easy as falling off a bike. I'm going to show you how to use the F command line switch to make GIMP load a lot faster. And as a matter of fact, I think that's what we're going to do right now. So I have a brand new clean install of the GIMP here, and I'm going to call it up and launch it. Now, before I launch it, take a look above my big fat head at the clock. I'm going to start this at 25 seconds after so we can get a benchmark on how quickly it loads. So here we go now. So GIMP is starting, and you'll notice it says looking for data files, fonts. This may take a while. It's a bit of an understatement. Watch how long this takes. So we started at 25, we're moving through 13 seconds now, still chugging along. Really, this is an embarrassment for a modern graphics manipulation program to take this long to start. Okay, so let's see, we started at 25, we'll call that at Oh, we'll be fair to it. We'll say 45. So a 20-second loading time, a solid 20-second loading time. I don't know about you, but I don't find that acceptable. Let's go ahead and fix it. So here's our instance that is running right now. You'll see all the fonts that are indexed over here on this right-hand pane. I'm going to close the instance of this. Now, instead of starting it that way, let me show you a little trick. So on my desktop is a GIMP shortcut, and you'll have, once you install it, you'll have a shortcut to the GIMP on your desktop too. Here's how you fix it. Just simply right-click on the shortcut that launches the program, go to Properties, and find Target. Okay, Target is going to be wherever you installed it to. In my case, it is Drive D, Program Files, GIMP2, binary, GIMP2.8.exe. Now, at the very end of that, click at the very end of Target, insert one space, and then a hyphen, and then the F key. There's no easy way for me to zoom in on this, but that's just a hyphen F after the end of the target, right? What that will do is it's a command line switch that tells the GIMP to ignore your fonts folder for this, for this iteration. How does that work in practice? Well, let's see. I'm going to launch the GIMP again, but I'm going to launch it with that command line switch. Let's look at the clock above my big head, and I'll start it at 15. So 13, 14, and go. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Less than 4 seconds. Slightly less than a 4-second load time. Obviously, you're good enough at math to know the difference between 4 seconds and 20 seconds, so that is huge. The second thing that I wanted to show you, let's start the GIMP again. And you'll notice that I have mine configured to run in that single pane that we were talking about. Let me show you what it looks like out of the box, and then I'll show you how to fix it. So this is the way it's going to start on your desktop. You're going to have your tools spread around like this. The way to fix that, if you want to fix it, is go to the main program window, click on the Windows tab, all the way down to the bottom, single window mode, click that, and you can reverse that at any time if you get yourself in a place where you feel more comfortable with the modular approach than the single pane approach. But I think those two things, in and of themselves, will be enough to get people to run the GIMP for 5 or 6 different tasks. And I think once you've accomplished 5 or 6 different tasks with it, you'll fall in love with it the same way that I and millions of others have. In the next episode, we'll cover some basic getting around in the program, opening and closing of files, and basic image manipulation. Until then, I'm the IT guy in the land of the living dead in San Francisco, California. Have fun.